All right, good evening, everyone. Today is March 30th, 2000 in the year 21. Most gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you, God, for yet another opportunity of prayer. We thank you, God, for allowing us to see yet this day. Thank you, God, for tonight. I thank you, God, for these views. I thank you, God, for the guests. Most of all, God, we all thank you for your love. We ask you, God, that you will bless your people as we do this broadcast tonight. Hopefully, it'll be lives, healing for those that are going through, and whatever is needed, I hope it be provided to you through this broadcast. In the mighty name of Jesus, we pray. Amen. Amen. Welcome to the show, everyone. Tonight I got a special guest. I put it in the announcements. Estee Scott will be joining me shortly. Um, I want to give. I want to ask everybody out there to continue to keep my friend Tahid Brisbane lifted up in prayer as he lost his dad last week. Also continue to keep my tight end from high school, tight end from high school, Jaleel Norman. He lost his daughter on this week or last week. So we're going to, keep them guys lifted up in prayer. Let them know that we support them. Everybody else that's actually going through, we ask you, God, that you just continue to support one another and continue to love on one another. What's good, Troy? I see you watching, Troy Bradshaw. Also, I want to give a happy born day to my boy Big Poppy, who celebrated his born day yesterday, as well as my first grade teacher, who celebrated her born day today, Miss Rosalind Vaughn Smith. So happy birthday to you guys. I want to wish an early happy birthday to a dear friend of mine, Simone, who will be celebrating her born day tomorrow. Happy born day early. Shout out to everybody else that had born days over the previous week and weekend. And with that being said, I'm gonna just talk to you guys for a minute till our guests come in. As usual, keep your if you have any questions, you can put them in the comments. If you have any comments, you can put it in the comments as well. But I always ask that you guys be a part of the show, and I want you guys engaged as well. So any questions that you might have for myself or the guests, feel free to leave them in the comments. And like I said, with that being said, until she get here, I just kind of want to harp on. I seen my man Troy Bradshaw watching, and last year I forgot what episode it was, but we did an episode on the ramp. Guys that I worked with at Continental or at the airport over 20 years ago, and it was like a little reunion show. And one of the guys that was actually supposed to be on there, shout out to my boy G Money. He literally passed away maybe a week later, and because we were talking about he was definitely going to be on the next show that we did, because I wanted to do another Ramp Edition show, because there were so many people that didn't get to get on that one, that it was just a good time. But it's important for us to very much I don't even know how to put it into words. Don't take life for granted. Don't take the small things for granted. Don't take your relationships for granted. Don't take love for granted. You know what I mean? Because this was a dude that brought us live, a great DJ. He was just a laugh, full of life to be around. And never did we think that one day he won't be here with us. We couldn't imagine having a card party without seeing G Money in the building. But that's our reality now. Physically, he'll never be there with us again. So it's important that we love on each other and show it while we can. Let's stop bickering and beefing over stupid, petty, and small things. Let's get stuff in order, and that way when God calls us home on that final day, we know that we did it. We ain't leave no loose ends untied. You know what I mean? And with that being said, also, shout out love. I hope you're doing well. I want everybody that believes in prayer and just have compassion for those other than yourself. Please, please, please keep my friend Toshiba Johnson as well as her family in prayer. She lost her mom this weekend, and I know she's going through with that. Toshiba, know that I love you. I'm here for you. You know what I'm saying? My phone is never off. I'm just a phone call away. Anytime, you need to vent, you need to cry, you need to not talk at all, you just want somebody to be on the phone, whatever the case may be, I'm here for you. You know what I'm saying? And know that you as well as my family, is you as well as your family are in my prayers continually. Praying for comfort, I'm praying for peace, I'm praying for your dad. You know what I mean? I can't imagine losing a spouse after that many years. I would imagine that would be tough in itself. But just know that you and your family are in our prayers. Rest in peace to your mom, and know that we love you. We here for you. And like I said, don't hesitate to pick up that phone if you need to. You know, we did a show last year again talking about using the support groups and using your support systems. And I think that that's very important. You know, we're gonna be having one of my favorite guests on the show in a couple of weeks, Miss Janelle Simone, the vivacious, the beautiful, talented Janelle Simone. But she always, no doubt, love, absolutely. She's big on that too. Using support, letting her voice be heard. But it's important, people, like, for us to understand when we go through things in life, we shouldn't have to go through them alone. Nobody should have to go through anything alone. 9 times out of 10, it's like you don't want to deal with it, or you don't want to. You might not want the help that it comes in, and that's one thing I always try to tell people when it comes to God. People that's in the spiritualism. You know, listen, God just said what He gonna do. He never said how it is that He's gonna do it though. So many times, how many times do we miss our blessings just because it doesn't come in the form or through who we want it to come through? You know what I mean? Help is help. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, like I said, nobody should have to go through anything alone, especially when you're dealing with financial crisis, when you're dealing with loss, loss of life, tragedies, accidents, all these kind of things. Nobody should have to go through these things alone. And sometimes it's not even a matter of you having to support someone financially or whatever the case may be, but sometimes it's just a matter of picking up the phone, letting someone know that you are there for them. That they're not alone. Because imagine if I had a conversation earlier today, and we were talking about the conversation that me and Mitchell Blue, the guest from 2 weeks ago, was having about the prodigal son. You guys are familiar with the prodigal son. Just a real quick, if you're not familiar with the prodigal son, this was a guy, the young son. Father had 2 sons. Youngest son turned whatever age, said, "Look, Daddy, I'm tired of being here. I don't want to live by your rules no more. I'm taking my inheritance and I'm bouncing." And he leaves the father's nest and goes into this foreign land, wind up in pigsty, homeless, broke, and everything else, and returns back to the father. And when the father sees the son approaching and comes home, he didn't have that mentality of, well, you went out there, you got to learn to be a man, or whatever the case may be. That just wasn't his approach. And that wasn't his approach. The father's approach was, I'm sorry, the father's approach was, this is my son, kill the best calf that we have, bring out the best wine because we partying, my son is returned home. And I always would like to think that I would have the love that the father displayed in that situation, because no matter how we may feel or what we may feel people deserve as parents, I don't think it's our place to, we hear this thing, especially in the Black community, this tough love. And I tell people all the time, I've never seen that in the Bible. Well, I've never seen that. I understand it and I get it, but I've never seen that in the Bible. And I was like, I summed all that up to say in the conversation I was having earlier, one of the questions that Mitch proposed to me, and we'll get into it the next time he comes on the show, he was asking, was the father an enabler by allowing the son to come back in with no discourse or no conversation, whatever the case may be. And my response to in the conversation that I was having today, can you imagine if God treated us the same way? Can you imagine if our blessings and whatnot was predicated on what we deserve? How many times has God been telling us, look, leave that relationship alone. All right, give me 1 second. I got to get the password to I guess. But how many times has God been saying, leave that relationship alone, leave that situation alone, what have you, and yet no, we still just turn a deaf ear. God never, when we get it together, God never says, well, you wanted to go out there and do whatever you wanted to do. No, he accepts us in. He takes us unconditionally love, and we talk about unconditional love. We talk about that agape love, but how many of us actually display that love? It's easy to talk about it, but how many people actually display that love? If my brother did me wrong, I don't care how I may feel personally. If he comes back to me with a repentant heart and a sincere heart, it's my responsibility or my duty to forgive him. Not take it upon myself, well, I'm gonna forgive you, but I ain't gonna forget. Because in my opinion, that's not true forgiveness. I understand what people say when they mean that there, and I don't want to be hurt again. But like I said, just imagine if that was the Almighty, if that was our creative mentality toward us. You know what I mean? I'm gonna give them what they deserve, what not have. Okay. I'm sorry, y'all. I was trying to multitask. I'm trying to go back and forth on my phone to get our guest in tonight. How you doing, Ed?
Hey, how are you?
Wonderful, wonderful.
So sorry, computer issues and everything else. How are you today?
It's no problem. It's no problem at all. I'm doing wonderful. I'm doing wonderful. So now that she's here, I'm gonna wrap that up though. But what I was saying about the prodigal son, let us evaluate that in our own time. You know what I mean? Exactly. Like Laisha said, forgive but be wise, and that's what's important. I posted my post yesterday was talking about how guys talked about the suffering of Jesus, and it was like that was my question. It wasn't necessarily a message or anything, but my question was, what have we learned personally from our suffering? What have we learned from? Have we learned from that thing over and over again, or are we just holding on to the pain of the situation and letting that determine our future? No, you got to let that thing go. You got to learn from it. You got to grow from it. So all that holding grudges, man, that's like super petty and beneath that. So with that having been said, I stalled out. We'll pick up that conversation next week on our current affairs show. But tonight we have, as you all can see, I got the beautiful, talented. Uh, she's a teacher. She's a speaker. She's a poet. She got bars, and she's an avid, which makes you so sexy to me. By the way, I don't mean to make you feel uncomfortable. It's super sexy for men like me. When you got a woman that knows, not likes, but knows sport. That is like, oh my God, that's like so major.
I appreciate the compliment.
That is so major. And all that being said, I'm talking about none other than the most beautiful, gorgeous Estee Scott. How are you tonight, Estee?
I'm good. That was so interesting. I was coming on when you were talking about letting things go, and I did like a little mini video on my Instagram story last night, and I was talking about that. I was like, you got to let it go, because there's so many things that come to frustrate us. And I mean, I could just really start in the month of March. I can't see none of the comments, so
no, I'm laughing at Laisha. Laisha said, "Dag, I ain't get that kind of intro." He's talking you up.
he's so
you married Laisha.
But I was just talking about that, like how, when things come to distract us, you got to release it and let it go. When things hurt your feelings, when things offend you. I had so many situations at the beginning of the month, and I feel some kind of way about some of it, but at the end of the day, I just had to understand. I got to tell myself, I got to release, I got to let it go. I got to forgive the parties that were involved, because my situation was really concerning my car. It got broken into the first week of March. And I think I might have shared that with you earlier this month. I felt kind of violated. And there's so many things that are going on with insurance and things like that. And so I had to understand, like, I got to let this stuff go. I got to let it go. And so no matter what, you handle the business side of whatever you need to handle. But I can't be mad at the restaurant and whoever else was involved. You just have to release that stuff as soon as it happens.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't. This is the way. This has always been my approach. And people say, "Well, you're kind of carefree. You're more carefree than the average person." Well, my main thing is me worrying about it or me letting it get to the best of me. What is that changing?
Right.
It doesn't change the outcome, or it's not going to go back in time and take it away. So
No,
why would I dwell on it? Like,
right. Because when I woke up the next morning, my window was still broke. Amen. Uh, so it didn't change anything. I couldn't go back. I couldn't erase it. And we take time and we try to do all the analytics of everything and what woulda, coulda, shoulda.
mm-hmm.
Because I was eating dinner. I was enjoying someone's birthday that night, one of my friends, and I'm like, what in the world? How did this happen? While I'm out here at this, my table probably spent a whole lot of money that night. And so I wouldn't even have assumed, or I wouldn't even thought on my best day that anything would take place somewhere like that. But you can't go back. So it
Yeah,
is what it is. I'm trying to move forward, but every day that I have to talk to the insurance people, I'm getting a little frustrated. But life just happens. We just have to play the hand we're dealt the best we know how. And
absolutely,
I've had so many
absolutely.
hurdles this year. My 2021 has been, I feel like it's victory, but you jump hurdles and you keep moving and you grow and you learn and you keep going, and whatever God allows to happen, you just have to be okay with.
Absolutely, absolutely. I agree with that wholeheartedly. All right, so getting into the show, like tell the people. Well, we went on there because you came on late, but introduce yourself to the viewers. This is your first time on the show. Introduce
I know.
yourself to the viewers and let them know a little bit about
Um, just a little bit about me. Originally from Ohio, been residing in the state of North Carolina for almost 20 years now. Which is like, wow, my 20-year reunion is coming up next year. But um, I'm a corporate girl by nature. I do think I'm kind of trying to pull to the business side of things, but I really like being a corporate girl. I'm enjoying my role. I work with financial crimes on a daily basis. I've
Did
been
you
in
say
risk,
financial crimes?
financial crimes.
Okay.
So I've been working in risk for about almost 5 years now. Um, have a little bit of background with project managing and things like that. But I love God. I'm a minister. I work with the youth, things like that. That's why I was late. I'm so sorry.
No
Um,
problem.
you know, it's Holy Week, so everybody's preparing for Easter. And I had a rehearsal that I almost forgot about this evening, and the kids were chatting with. I was like, "Oh, I gotta go. I forgot. I gotta go." So sorry about that delay. But I just had to make sure that
No
they were
problem.
straight. But just I love ministry. I work in ministry. I'm a minister. Of course, I'm Estee at the end of the day. I'm just a servant girl. I'm just a servant. I don't not no accolades and nothing like that. I don't care about titles. I'm just trying to do what God's called me to do in every aspect of my life. And so
Okay.
got a couple degrees behind my name, but I'm actually just really started working in my field. I would say I'm working with anti-money laundering and financial crimes. I just started doing that within the last 5 years. So even though criminal justice is one of my degrees, I didn't start working in that field right away.
That's cool. Like I've never heard of that field before. We got to definitely have dinner one night so we can talk about your day at work.
It's
Like that sounds pretty interesting.
my weekly headache is something new. I basically review a bunch of business accounts, just making sure that there's no anti-money laundering, making sure that they have the appropriate products for what they're trying to do and where
Okay.
they are and where they're going. So I do a lot of the reviews on that. But I like it. I like spoken word. Like he was saying, he said I'm a word girl. I like spoken word. I do spoken word. I just started a little Instagram page called Versified, so I'm trying to do some more with that. It's only
Okay.
been up for a few months, but love spoken word. Just really just like helping. I like giving. I like assisting. I like serving. That's just who I am.
Cool deal. Cool deal. And I was gonna get to it later, but you mentioned it a little earlier. I wanted to ask you that for Estee, what does being a servant mean, and how important is that to you?
Being a servant it means being selfless. Of course, I know this is the Marvin Bennett show and this ain't your church service, but I know you love God, so you don't mind me referencing a scripture or two. But you're the greatest of all is the servant of all. That's what the Bible says. And so I remember when I was a little girl, I was, looking at that scripture, and my mom was really just trying to give me an idea that it don't matter what you do in ministry, it don't matter your title, it don't matter, what area of the church you work in. At the end of the day, you're just a servant. And so she always tried to, always seen her, helping people and giving, and that's who I am. If anybody's been out to eat with me, you probably understand I love to give. I love to see people smile and make people, happy and laugh and just be there for people. I know the 2020 pandemic really, a lot of people went through some serious things, took some losses, and then some people were really, really blessed. But I really think it's just being selfless. You just forgetting about who you are and forgetting about your moment and your wants, but really just being selfless and making sure that you have a clear mind, a clear heart. You're thinking about this like Christ would think about this, that it's not about me, it's about the greater purpose. And sometimes it can be misconstrued. I know over the years, my servant mindset has probably been taken the wrong way in some areas. A lot of times when you like to give and serve and sow, people think there's an underlining motive and things like that. But with me, it never has been and it never will be. So that's just my mindset. It's just being pure and giving from your heart. And I've seen this my whole life. I mean, even when I was in college, my mom would send me money, and she would say this because she had a good understanding of what would happen after that. She said, "Now I hope you're going to spend this on you." And she said that to me as a freshman and a sophomore. And I would kind of laugh because she knew that I was probably a reflection of her, and 9 times out of 10, I was going to do something for somebody else with what was given to me from her. And so, but that's just all I know. I mean, of course, as time progresses and you get older, you have to have a balance with that. You don't want to give your rent money away or your car payment away or anything like that. But really just being selfless and being mindful of other people and their needs and how you can be a help. Of course, you can't do everything for everybody all the time, but just looking for ways of like, how can I be a blessing? How can I help somebody in this particular situation or in this ministry or in this, somebody in my neighborhood or whatever. I'm just always looking for opportunities to help. I mean, I've literally been in the grocery store. I've seen somebody trying to figure out payment, and I'm like, I got it, just to help and just shine my light, looking for ways to shine my light to really be a reflection of who God is.
Cool. That's good. I like that. Janelle Branch says she is a rare gem. Everyone is proud to call Estee Scott my friend.
Wow. Wow.
Janelle Branch. Thanks for
Wow.
watching, Janelle.
Thank you, Janelle. That's so sweet.
Yeah, but you said it good. I'm gonna have to steal that from you too. I like that. The greatest servant of them all, the greatest of them all was the great servant. And this guy right here, that's a big
Yeah.
part of why he's one of my idols. Like he's one of my role models.
Right.
It wasn't about his faith belief, or it was what he stood for as a man. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? I'm willing people fight all their life as athletes to become the heavyweight champion of the whole wide world, to win that Super Bowl. You know what I mean? But it takes a special man like Muhammad Ali. It takes a special man like Colin Kaepernick. Yeah, I said it. It takes a
Right.
special man to say, you know what? Forget about the check. Forget about the way, and I wasn't even going to plan on talking about it, but I've been going back and forth, and I haven't really did my homework on all the research about it. But I seen where Ricky Smiley had posted the video talking about he had got the nephew or a family friend or somebody a job. He's gonna be
Mm-hmm.
making great money, but the young fella ain't want to cut his dreads. You know what I mean? And he was like, "Well, you grown now, whatever else case may be." And I've heard stuff like that all my life, or I watched it in the older movies. You can't look a white woman in her eyes. You know what I mean? When they coming down the sidewalk, you got to get off the sidewalk. No, I mean, I understand that might be the norm some places, but I refuse to lessen myself or my self value to make
Right.
everybody else feel comfortable. You know what I mean? I'm not I'm not going to do certain things. Like, people like, well, man, you could have made it could have been $100,000 job a year. Okay, that's that young man's, like, where do we get this whole notion from? And I trust me, I do get it from an overall standpoint. But like Chris Rock used to always say, there's a way. When they talk about people, why you talk black? He said, no, it's a way to talk when you want a job. There's a way to talk when you not trying to get a job. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
Why is that? Why do we base so much stuff on the superficial or the outer exterior, where all that should matter at the end of the day is the quality of my work, regardless of what I look
Right.
like, regardless of what my sexual preference is, regardless of anything. Am I a great worker? Can I get the job done? That's all that matters to me, in my opinion, point blank, period.
And I think sometimes too, it just matters what is the culture of the environment that you are getting ready to be a part of.
Mm-hmm.
For me over the years, applying to different roles and things like that, of course, I mean, I usually just, I don't really have nothing extra or, no crazy color hair, anything like that. But I think about those situations like, what if I like those things? What if I wanted my hair to be blue? Or, I
Yeah.
think about people who, really like to express themselves with, hair color and tats and all these things. And I think it just really boils down to what is the culture of the environment that you're getting ready to be a part of.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, me personally, I have a mixed feelings about the whole, dreads and, cutting dreads. If I felt like it was a requirement and that was my son, I would I would want them to be presentable. And I look at it, it doesn't matter how you decide to present yourself on a daily basis to this company. Are you neat? Do you look decent? Or, are you clean? Things like that. And so maybe just kind of getting in with the culture. I know a lot of people have mixed feelings on that. Like, oh, somebody shouldn't be made to cut their hair because, they don't look the whatever is considered to be quote unquote the standard. But maybe there's a culture that the company wants to represent. We just have to consider what is the representation of the company. I
Yeah.
mean, Wells, I work, in banking, and they're pretty open about. I've seen when I was actually in the office before. I've seen suited and booted Sunday's best, and I've seen people run around in flip flops. And so it just depends on what the culture is that you're a
Yeah.
part of.
And whether or not you're willing to compromise your personal beliefs or feelings. And that's what I'm saying. That, to me, that's not no judgment call. It's not a right or wrong. Some will. I don't look no differently at somebody that says that's the way that I do things versus somebody that say I'm not doing it just to get no job. You know what I mean? It's not, one is not right over the other, in my opinion. It's just a matter of your personal views. Jennifer said that was his nephew and he ended up killing himself last week. That's the part that I was actually talking about. Jen, because I did see the video where the sister posted talking about, she was pretty much saying that was Ricky Smiley's fault that the son killed himself. And I'm with Ricky Smiley on that one there. I'm not going to point no blame, or I wouldn't accept the blame because somebody took their life over something that I said. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, they still chose to take their life, or whatever the case may be. Now I'm not giving Ricky Smiley no pass, whatever the case may be. I don't know Ricky Smiley or the young person, the person involved. So I'm not even going, go into the depths of that. But what I'm saying is, if I go out, if I feel like if me and you have an argument and I hurt your feelings to the core, and you go out here and commit suicide, I don't feel like it's my responsibility. I don't care who says it for me to take that on. That it's my fault that you died. Because the same way you went home and killed yourself, you could have went home and keyed my car. You could have punched me in my face. You could have, you know what I'm saying? Like, that wasn't your only option. So I'm not going to put that on the other person.
Right. And I think too, I don't know, I guess that can be not wholeheartedly will probably be your responsibility. I think for me, like if I got into an argument with someone and then they left and committed suicide, for that would I would feel, I would feel bad about it to a certain degree, because I wouldn't want anything that I said or do to cause anybody to, to be angry, to be offended, to flip out, to lose their life or anything like that. But at the same time, as far as like, taking your life, that's something that's very, very serious.
Yeah.
And so I would hope that nothing I did took them over the edge. But at the same time, I guess I would feel a level of responsibility. Some people probably wouldn't, some people would. I wouldn't say like, oh, I'm actually the reason, because I didn't do the act. If we want to, we want to get really technical down to whatever the logistics would be as far as the law is concerned. I didn't personally make you do that, but if it goes to court or trial, they could very well account me as an accessory, even if I could do the act.
I'm gonna give you a hard time proving it. I tell you that much.
It would be a hard time.
When I say that, I'm not saying that I'm totally heartless. I'm saying if I have an argument with somebody, they went out and committed suicide, yeah, I am gonna feel some kind of way. But am I gonna feel responsible? Absolutely not. Am I gonna wonder if the words that I said, was I too harsh? Could I have been softer in my delivery? Yeah, I'm gonna factor all that in, but I'm still not gonna say it was my fault that this person took their life. And that's one of the reasons I be honest with you, people know me and it's hard to believe for some people, but that's one reason that I don't talk to people. I don't get personal with people because I understand that everybody can't handle me. Everybody can't handle a straight up conversation or my pure thoughts. You know what I mean? I'm never going to tell you what you want to hear or what I think you want to hear. I'm going to tell you my point of view or my opinion. And you can either like it or not like it, but I'm not going to sugarcoat anything just for the sake of conversation pieces, not like that. Especially with somebody that I genuinely care about.
And I guess it wouldn't be to an extent of like, yes, this is my fault. But I think I probably overanalyze things sometimes anyway, or I may replay the situation in my mind multiple times, just to think about like, what could I have done differently? What could I have said differently? And I think I do that just in general, even if I have if I had a mini disagreement with someone, no matter if I was mad or whatever the situation, however it would have arose, I'm probably going to replay it, even if that person is still alive, to say like, and what could I have said differently? What could I have done differently? I'm always going to replay it to figure out how I could have been better in the situation. Or is there any responsibility on me on what just took place? Is there any way to fix it? Is there something I could have done? Something I could have said? Did I actually commit the act? No, but I'm always going to replay it as, is there something I could have done to prevent this? Especially something that serious as suicide. Is there something that I could have done to prevent this from taking place? Maybe people do have real mental, maybe that person, really had something serious going on, and that was just the event that took them over the edge. But I'm always going to probably replay it to figure out, is this off of me? Am I good with God at the end of the day? Is there something I could have done differently? That would be my main concern. Like, how is God going to handle me about this? What did I do? What did I say? I know that I didn't actually, commit the act, but was there something I could have did different?
I'm gonna read this comment here before I go away. But before I wrap up on the whole Ricky Smiley thing, I just want to put it out there that the cutting of the hair was not a requirement for the job. It was a personal thing for Ricky Smiley, but it was not required for him to get the job. That was something that Ricky Smiley teaches all the young men in his life. There's a way that you look when you want to go get a job. That's the older mentality and all that did. I like the Uncle Simmons approach more better. But that's all right too, as a father and as a provider, to train your kids. So if they gotta cut their hair, they gotta cut their hair.
Right.
My youngest son cut his hair until he was over 18 years old. You know what I mean? He never had a haircut in his life. But a Tara Walker Pet Pindu says, I don't know what I stumbled upon, but it had my girl Estee in, so I stopped to listen. I love hearing her talk ever since we were in high school together. She has.
Did I lose you? I think it froze for a minute.
I'm sorry, I got you back, Estee.
Yeah, I think it kind of paused or froze for a minute.
Yeah, the
You don't
Zoom, the
really
Zoom,
comment
the
on
Zoom went
somebody
down for a minute. Every once in a while, when I be doing meetings, like not actually for the show, every
else.
time it seems like it's around a certain time on Zoom. I don't know if it's too many people on Zoom or what the case may be, but it always crashes on me. So I'm glad that
Gotcha.
I'm glad it didn't last too long. There have been cases where folks have been put on trial and or accused of making folks commit suicide. Yeah, that's what she was saying. Estee, I mean Yvette. Estee was saying the same thing. You know, people are pressing charges against people, stuff like that. Did now, and that's a whole nother field. I
It's
don't
a lot. That's a lot to unpack when it comes to something like that.
yeah, and it's like I only speak from this perspective, and I don't want to talk about suicide all night, but
Right.
as someone that has tried to commit suicide before, I'm going on record. I don't like to hear, and I hear it a lot. I hear people say when somebody commits suicide, or they were weak, they punked out, they this, they that, they was a sucker, this here, and that did it. Look, let me tell you something, yo. Committing suicide is not an easy feat. It takes a whole nother level of strength to actually try to kill yourself. Not
Right.
harm yourself, not take a knife and cut yourself just so you can feel pain. We talking about literally trying to kill yourself. That's
Right.
a level of strength that most people don't know. So if you've never been there before, I don't think you have the right to speak about it or have an opinion on it. I mean, everybody can have an opinion, but just because you have an opinion doesn't mean that it's right.
Right.
You know what I mean? I knew when I made
It's
up
a
my
strong.
mind.
It's a strong topic, and I mean, I've went to school with people who have done that actually, um, and I sometimes I'm like, wow, I'm like that's a very serious thing. I don't really try to too much judge the situation, but I think I just always am trying to think about what was the mindset.
Mm-hmm.
How did you get to that place? Like that's a very deep, strong place that if you
And
let.
the sad thing is, Estee, the honest answer to that question is, what was your mindset? Is I guarantee if you talk to half the people, if we could have a conversation with people that have committed suicide or have tried to commit suicide, I guarantee that it will be at least 80 to 90% that will be able to, their honest answer will be able to tell you, I don't even know what my mindset was. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you can never identify, or you can never know what it's like to be in someone else's skin. What breaks you, or you know what I mean? It'll destroy somebody else. It just
Right.
broke you.
That's so
It didn't
true.
take you out. You know what I mean? And we all got to have that level of understanding to understand. You know what? Some things I just don't know.
Right.
Everything isn't for all of us to understand,
That's
and it
so
gets
true.
so frustrating and aggravating to me sometimes when I have these conversations, and that's the first thing that come out of people's mouth. Well, I just don't understand how they could do this. I don't understand this. I don't understand that. It's not your job to understand. You're not going to understand everything because you know why? You don't understand everything that goes on with you. You don't understand all the decisions that you make.
Right.
So why
Exactly.
would you understand the decisions that I make for myself?
That's so true. And I don't think I wouldn't spend too much time on trying to figure someone else's reason out. But yeah, sometimes I look back at my own life like, what was I thinking?
Exactly. Algernon said facts. You never know what can take you there. You know, even with the Kurt situation last week, everybody got an opinion on Kurt. Is that the way he normally talked? Listen, man, you don't know what it's like to be in the fire until you in the fire.
Until you in the fire. That's all true.
So it's easy to be a Monday morning quarterback and talk about what you could do or what you would do. But
Right.
it's funny when you actually in the situation how things change. Everything that you said that you would do, that just some kind of way magically disappeared.
And at the end of the day, I'm like, that's his child. If we all just mind the business that pays us.
That's
Amen.
it. That whole part right there.
That's his son. Let them work that out as a family. And unfortunately, his son recorded them, but still, it's like that's his child. That's their family. That's the Franklin family. We probably all have an opinion or a thought of what we would have done or how we would have handled it or
Mhm.
whatever. But at the end of the day, um, that ain't my business.
Yeah. And just so you know where I stand at it, I know nobody cares, but just so you know where I stand at it, it happened last Saturday, Sunday morning when I got up and I seen the transgression, when I seen Kurt and I seen the son responses in the bottle. I went online and I purchased 2 Kirk Franklin CDs. And guess what I did? Guess what I did Sunday? Yes, this Sunday. I went and bought 2 more Kirk Franklin CDs.
Listen, some of the parents, honey, they said my kind of parent. Some people were upset, but some people appreciated that. Some people said,
absolutely,
we need that kind of correction. So I mean, me personally, my mom never cursed at me like that, but I'm sure if she did, I would have been okay.
Exactly, and that's the key right there. And I think people are kind of fraudulent.
There was some of my coaches cussed at me. So hey, it didn't happen at the house, but it happened on that court.
And that's the thing. People understand Kirk Franklin is in the spotlight. There's many of us nobodies that have had some of them same conversations with our children, whether you told the Bible, whether you got blessed oil dripping down your forehead and your beard and everything else. You don't have them same conversations with your kids. It just wasn't where you was worldwide known to be exposed and get put out there like that.
Right, I'm like, some people just wasn't recorded. That's all.
that's exactly it. Somebody, one of my sister in Jersey said, "So glad my kids never recorded me," and that's the truth. We all done things that we haven't been proud of, but it's funny how I always have this joke that I always talk about. I want to find the people that actually make pedestals so I can destroy them, because I don't understand where these people come from that put these people on these pedestals. You know what I mean? I don't care whether you're the president. I don't care whether you're Muhammad Ali. At the end of the day, you're still a man. I don't care what bishop you are, whatever your title may be, you are still a man. You're not susceptible. Your name is not Jesus Christ. So therefore, you never say what you wouldn't or wouldn't do, because you don't know until you're in that moment.
And I think, like, I was just having this conversation earlier. One of my little sisters called me, and we were talking about some stuff, and we were just talking about how, we have to stop expecting everybody at church to be perfect. Everybody that claims to be a disciple of Christ, we have to stop expecting them to be perfect. Now, we expect them to handle us sometimes, a little better than people handle us in the world. But wherever we have people, there's going to be problems. So we have to stop expecting that everything is going to be perfection just because we're saved and it's in the house of the Lord. That's not realistic.
McGill says a parent is trying to educate his son about life. Kurt is about his child, and they have to be told the truth about spare the ride, spoil the child. What is the ride? And there you go, McGill. Absolutely, Al. Stop being so religious. Hey, Al, listen, man, I got to get you on the show. I got to get you on the show one day, too, man. I'm going to get the whole team back on again, but I definitely want you on because you're doing amazing things, bro. For all y'all that's not fun friends with my friend Algernon Hall, follow him out there. He's a big, and I need you to link up, check him out, too, Estee, because you guys are in the big time doing the same thing as far as motivation. He's going to schools. He's working with youth. He's doing it big, keeping them motivated with his daily words and videos and everything. So shout out to my bro Al watching. Thanks for tuning in, Al.
I'm sorry, I can't see any of the comments. I think you mentioned that one of my sister friends was on there making a comment. I think Tara. So hey, Tara.
Yeah, that's the one I was reading. I think when we blacked out, she wrote like a whole paragraph, but she said she don't know what she popped in on, but she said your name and wanted to say that she popped in just because of that. Always have you on. You always been motivational ever since high school and everything else. So
wow.
She thank you for all your kind words and stuff over the years.
Yeah, we graduated together and we played all sports together. So
all right. Well, we're gonna be wrapping up soon, and it was 2 more things that I wanted to cover before we went.
Okay.
Being single. Okay, you're single in ministry. I want you to talk about, from a woman's perspective, difficulties of being single in ministry, if there are any, especially living in a society where everything is relation. A lot of things are not everything, but a lot of things are relationship based or relationship driven.
Ooh-wee, this single topic, I tell you, it comes up so much lately.
Oh, I like that. You started twitching in your chair a little bit. That's a good question, man.
No, because I think sometimes being single, it gets taken to places that it probably is not reality. In ministry, sometimes the assumption can be, if you're single, then you ain't got no life. And so you can spend all your life in doing everything for the church, and you can be here every time the door is open. And don't get me wrong, I believe that because I am single, that I can be here more than not. But there are a lot of single people that they're entrepreneurs, they're corporate people. Some of them are ministering on a regular basis. I mean, like every week, every month type thing. They're influential. They have family, they have God kids, they have, it's we have more than just ministry happening. We have lives. And sometimes it can be taken out of context. I really feel like, for me as a single person, I guess I'm not going to say there's not any struggles, because that's not true. There can be struggles because, we live in a family oriented society. So especially after you get a certain age, people always want to know, well, why are you still single? Well, why you don't have any kids? Well, why you're not married? As a female, I personally can't just be out here looking for somebody. I can be in a position to be found, but I can't be out here just all up in people's inbox. Hey, what's up? Let's do dinner. Like, I'm not going to do that with any man. But in my single time, it's a time for preparation. It's a time for me to work on me so that when that time comes, I can be the best version of me. And so I think the struggle sometimes can be that we look at family, and we look at all our friends that are married and got kids and yes, do I want a family? Absolutely. Do I want children of my own? I love all my God kids, but I want some of my own. Absolutely. But the reality of it is, we just have to be okay with the timing that has been allowed. And I mean, some of my single friends, they've been married before and now single again. Some people are single, no kids, no nothing. And I think it just gets taken. There's not a lot of reality that's spoken to singleness all the time. Yes, singles have struggles, but every single ain't lonely. Every single don't eat, breathe, and sleep trying to be married. Every single is not. I mean, God knows the desires in my heart. He understands I want a husband. I don't have to pray heaven down about it every day. He knows that. So I just stand on the fact that I believe at some point he's going to send the person that he has for me. But some single people are really okay with, we're not stressed out about trying to have a spouse.
Before it disappears, Jennifer, we got a viewer, Jennifer, one of our top viewers, said, do you think that it's harder for women over 40 to find love?
Not necessarily, because a lot of my friends that were single that are in their 40s right now, and I'm talking mid 40s, they got either had a baby after 40 or got married after 40. And I'm still in my mid 30s, and I'm still single. So I don't think it necessarily depends on, I think it does have an age, like after maybe like probably 50 plus, it's a different look. But then also it just depends on what your individual situation is. Because some people have been married multiple times and now are single again. I have a friend that I went to high school with. They've been married twice, and they're single again, and they're dating someone, but they're single again. So it just looks so different for everybody. There's some people that have never been married and don't have kids at 40, but I know at least three females that they all got married and had a baby after 40. So it just depends. I mean,
it's case by case.
It's case by case. Absolutely.
Because I can honestly admit, from a male standpoint, I was married for 20 plus years. So when I got divorced, I just gonna be honest. When I first got divorced, I was like, you know what I mean? I wanted to throw a party, because I was like, my days in ministry are done. Because I know what I like. I know what I want. And abstinence doesn't affect the end of that equation. You know what I mean? So I'm not even going to try to do ministry because I got to get me some. From time to time, I got to have some. And that was just my reality. But I thank God for being God, because one thing that he taught me through the process was he'll keep whoever want to be kept.
If you want to be kept,
That was my genuine thought process at the time. But I'm not out here sleeping around. I'm not out here fiending. I'm not out here, oh my God, I can't watch nobody not kiss on TV because I'm going to get some Jones and all that there. And you said it perfectly, and I say it all the time, yo. Just because I'm alone does not mean that I'm lonely.
Right.
When now on this side of things, being single again, I feel like I just got off the Amistad. Just give me my freedom. I love freedom. And people be like, man, you still young. You need to find you somebody and get it. Listen, man, if that's what you want to do that for you. Right now, I'm enjoying myself. You know what I mean? I love being single.
And that's the key thing. I mean, of course, single for you looks different because you were married, but and that's the key thing. Like, he keeps who wants to be kept. Everybody want to be kept. Unfortunately, I thank God for how he's processed me over the years. But I have friends in and out the church. Everybody don't want to be kept. And
exactly.
It's the mindset. It is something that people are like, oh, I'm praying that Jesus take the desires away. Well, no, I'm not praying that, because I'm gonna need them desires one day, just not right now. But it's, if you want to be single and live according, if you're a disciple of Christ anyway, let me talk, it's only to the church, because I know the world has a different perspective. But if a single wants to be single in their singleness and live according to what would be pleasing to Christ, that is possible.
Mm-hmm. I honestly could say that if I hadn't been through it firsthand myself, that's something that I would hear people preach about, but it would go in one ear and one out the other.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because I always be honest enough to say I can't even front. Growing up in church, I've been to many, many, many services. And it was like I would always have a different what's the word I'm looking for? I had a different level of appreciation, or didn't show them as much respect. When I look back on it, when I would see preachers that were preaching that was on their second and third marriage, and yet their first wife is still alive and breathing. Like, how did you make a vow before God to one person and then go make a vow with somebody else while that person is still alive? Like, that's a personal thing. Like, that's not theology, or that's not religious. That's just my own thing. I never understood that. I don't believe in second marriages and stuff like that there, whatever the case may be, especially when the person is living. Like, if the person died or something, that's something totally different if you think about it. If you're looking at it on, that's fine. But I don't understand how you could go into a covenant with God with an individual that is still living and breathing. Y'all choose to go y'all separate ways. And now, okay, I can't be by myself, so I'm going to go try this thing all over again. Okay, so how was this vow before God? How is this covenant different than the last one?
And I think situations for the people, or for the knowledge that I've had, I mean, I ain't no expert because I'm not married, but from, observations in family and friends and that are, there's different situations that I feel like arise that everybody didn't just make a decision that they didn't want to be married. I think there's different circumstances that happen that created a space for that, because maybe somebody stepped out in the marriage and now trust is not there anymore. Or maybe that was something they just was like, if you came outside the covenant on me, then I can no longer be with you. I know people that made that decision, or it turned into an abusive situation, or whatever the case may be. So I think it's situational, that things come up and now we're here. This is where it is. Now, for those people that didn't have adultery or abuse or criminal activity or anything like that, then yeah, I do have that question, like, how did they end up divorced when those things did not take place in their marriage, but this is where they are. So different case by case. Again, that's another case by case. But I feel like if in my own personal opinion, and I think some Bible can back me up on most of it, if there wasn't adultery or abuse or some kind of criminal activity that took place, I don't agree with divorce. That's me personally. I pray that I only have to do it one time.
I know that's right. And I did about one time. So to answer your question, Priscilla, are you looking? I'm looking right at you right now, Priscilla. The answer is absolutely no. All caps. She asked, so Marvin, you don't want to be married again? No. No, 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 no. Been there, did that. We had another comment that was for you.
What are you going to do? What are you going to do?
Huh?
Are you going to live like Paul for the rest of your life?
You said bald?
I said, are you going to live like Paul the rest of your life?
Hey, I told you he been keeping me. He could keep on keeping me. You know what I mean? I'm good over here. Like, because, and Bev said, I hate divorce. A comment that Beverly, when our top viewers had for you was, she said, enjoy your singleness. Don't believe the hype.
Oh, trust me. When I don't believe any of the hype. I don't believe it's so much better on the other side. But I believe that it can work if the two individuals do the work. I'll say that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And let me clarify. Okay. Priscilla, okay, thank you. Keep on believing God. You know what I mean? We believe in God for two different things on my behalf, but keep on believing him. I may be married again. I don't know. I'll never say never. And just because I say I don't want to be married, don't get it wrong. I think marriage is a beautiful thing. Done the right way, I think marriage could be a beautiful embodiment. You know what I mean? With the right two people and the right individuals under the right circumstances. I'm not, just because I'm divorced I don't believe in marriage and marriage sucks and all this other kind of stuff. No, that's not my mentality at all. I still believe that marriage is a beautiful thing. It's just that I choose not to partake in that beautiful thing. I like flowers, but I don't go to no gardening classes either. You know what I'm saying? I like to just look at the flowers. I don't need to know how to grow them. You know, I respect them for their beauty in that aspect, but I don't have to become a botanist or nothing like to that degree. You know what I mean?
I got you. But okay, so I'm just going to shift just for 2 seconds because I know that there's a lot of single women that always want to hear this perspective from a man's view. Mm-hmm. You said you ain't looking for a wife, so maybe your view is gonna be looking totally different. I'm not sure.
No, you can still ask me. I'll stay neutral.
I know you have a perspective. So a lot of females, and I've experienced this in dating or whatever. A lot of females want to know what is up with a man and their communication and consistency. And when they only want to communicate by text, and when they're not consistent, people want to hear like the men's perspective. Why is that seems like a comment that I hear a lot from other single females, like, oh, I liked him and we were dating, and that was, it was okay for a while, but then he wasn't consistent, or he never calls, but he texts all the time. He's not really making a lot of plans. Like, can you speak to some of that as a man?
Okay, that's kind of layered, but I'm gonna do it the best that I can. Okay, for the first part, consistency and communication for any relationship, whether it be marriage, whether it be homies, whether it be girlfriends, any relationship, period. Communication is absolutely pivotal. And I've learned that on both sides of it, being single, being married, being divorced. I've learned that over the years, and what doesn't break you makes you grow. I can honestly admit I was a horrible communicator because I don't feel like doing the back and forth. I ain't trying to win no argument. I'm gonna let you do whatever you want to do. I'm gonna tell you to kiss my behind and keep it moving. I you know what I mean? I'm not about to sit here and have a conversation. You feel the way you feel, I feel the way I feel, and that's gonna change that. You know what I mean? There's nothing that you could say that's gonna make me change the way I feel about a certain situation. Right. And being in a relationship, it's okay to be like that as an individual, but being in a relationship, that is definitely not fair to the other party. And that's speaking. That's not just speaking to men. That's speaking to women too. Because that's one thing I don't like when I'm on Facebook. I try to keep scrolling through the timelines and stuff because I see that post out there a lot of times, and it's usually women. And you know what I mean? But it goes both ways. I know plenty of women that are in relationships that are horrible communicators. I know plenty of women in relationships that aren't consistent. So we can't just always be putting it to one gender versus another. It comes down to an individual thing. Any young lady that has dealt with me in the last 3 years, they will tell you when it comes to me, I'm not big on texting. I don't want to text. I don't want to message. I want to talk to you because, to be honest with you, I'd rather be face to face. Because one of the things that I learned growing up in playing football, all my high school coaches were cops. And I'll never forget one of my coach, rest in peace, Coach Broswell. One of the things that he told me one day, he was taking me home after practice. He said, man, listen, he said, body language is a whole nother conversation. And that always stuck with me because, you know, these people are trained to investigate and things like that there. And I've done that over the years, and I would notice how I'm having a verbal conversation with somebody, but their body language is having a whole different conversation than what's coming out. You know what I mean? Now, if I'm on the phone or I'm texting, I can't see that.
Right.
If I say, what's good, girl? How you doing today? You know what I mean? If you had a bad day, you're going to be like, what do you mean? How was my, you know what I mean? It's all about the way you do it. I can't stand texting. I can't stand messaging because it's too much room for misunderstanding.
Exactly.
So
and that's the thing.
Personally, I don't like that.
Like that's my whole thing is that, you know, will I text? Yeah, I'll text my homegirls all day, but I don't want to text a man all day.
Yeah.
I don't want that to be our main form of communication, especially if they say they're interested and all that. Like, I'm not getting ready to text you all night. At some point, if I would initially, I'm gonna say initially, now we're already in a committed relationship, communication and consistency probably initially looks a little bit different, even though I still feel like you should be consistent and communicative. But in the beginning, I think is where women are like, well, they started out good in the first month and then I don't really talk to them, or they're not making plans anymore, or they're not calling like they used to and things like that. I don't want to text you all day as a man. I want to pick up the phone at some point and talk. And then more than less, hopefully we're in the same area. At some point, I want to hopefully spend time. Like,
exactly.
You know, I'm looking there. Some people always ask me like, well, what gets your attention? The man that says, would be ready by 7 on Friday. That's what gets my attention.
A man that says what?
I like people that make plans. The one that says, be ready.
Okay. Because I don't wrote the other one down that you ain't going. I'm not going to be expecting anything for you in my DM. So I already know I got to make the first move. So I'm just taking all these notes down. I'm listening to you as you're talking.
I'm not going to find myself in nobody's inbox like that. I might just reply or comment to a story, but other than that, oh no, I'm not going to be. Not initially. Now I feel like after something is established or after we have went out a few times and I can be back and forth, or I can reach out first and things like that. But initially, my mama raised me old school, so she always like, the brethren come get you, honey. You don't be chasing nobody down.
And see, and it goes both ways. I'm glad you brought that up because I want to speak on that real quick. I can remember there was a day once upon a time. I know it's hard for some people to believe, but there was a day once upon a time when I was not such a sex symbol. In my earlier years, you know what I mean?
It's so silly. And
I tell people all the time, I became how I became because of all the rejection. You know what I mean? Because, okay, well, you the poor friend. All your other friends got money. You ain't got no money. They got the Jordans on. You got the pay less. You know what I mean? Shout out to Favor. I tell people all the time, me and my brother talk about that the other day, but I come from the era of the Favor days. I don't know if y'all had them in Ohio, but before there was Payless shoes, there was this store called Favor. Take the most expensive pair of shoes, and they was like $9.99. But you know, when you used to dealing with so much rejection, you know what I mean, and this was coming at an early age when I'm starting to learn myself, and I'm first starting to get attracted to women and things of that nature, and girls at the time. And unfortunately, and it's like I hate that I had this conversation because I had never thought about this in over 30 years. But my first sexual experience was at 13 with a young lady that was 22 years old.
Oh my.
And she when I told her that, she was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry that happened to you." And I'm sitting here laughing like, "What are you talking about?" And it took me like literally maybe a day or two, and weeks later, I'm still thinking about that. Like, yeah, I really was raped, and I always wondered how did that change my mentality or the way I view women at such an early age, having that kind of experience with a woman as opposed to a young lady my age.
Right.
You know what I mean? It definitely had to do something to me at that early of an age. So, when to bring it back full circle, I had got to the point where after that happened to me, guess what? I just been with a woman. So I don't really care what you high school girls think about me. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm on a whole nother level now. So I'm not even going to try to go out my way to make you known out there. And after that, I was like, I remember one girl in particular that I was really feeling. And when she shot me down, it was like, man, you know what? I don't never want to feel like this again. So I get the whole mindset that a man is supposed to come after a woman. Ain't no woman got no business chasing no man, all that there. The Bible also says that a closed mouth don't get fed. You know what I mean? That's my mentality. If you're interested, say something. I'm not gonna think less of you as a woman because you let me know that you're interested in me. You know what I mean? And vice versa, because a lot of times we have these hard exterior as men, and we think we so alpha, or that's the way that's people's perception of us, which is one thing that I say all the time too. That perception is not reality, because just because you perceive me to be a certain way does not mean that that's actually how I am. Right. You know what I mean? That doesn't make your perception of me does not make it my reality. So just because you view somebody as strength and oh man, he a ladies man, he ain't scared to talk to nobody. That's not always the case. Or some women, and I know beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Some men look at some women and like, you know what? She just ain't nowhere in the world she gonna be talking to me. I don't care how much money I got. She just too fine, or things of that nature. There, so there's a lot of different variables that play in that factor into that. But I think the most important part is to wrap up the answer is having those pivotal conversations early on, like from the
right.
You know what I mean? What? All right. So look, I just met you on a dating app, and whatever. And what's your expectations? What are you looking for? Are you looking for something long term? Are you just trying to chill? Like, have those real conversations earlier. You know what I mean? People like to go back and forth. Well, where did you grow up at? And have the small talk conversation.
Right.
And you can work that too, but I want to get to because I don't want to waste your time, and I don't want to waste my time.
Especially you know what I mean? 30 plus, you might as well go ahead and get you might as well go ahead and get it out the way. Like, you might as well have all the conversations that you are thinking about, goals and kids and family. And I want to know what their mindset is on everything, not just the basic stuff, education, school, career. I don't want to just know that. Family, do you have any kids? The main questions that come up all the time. How many kids do you have? Where'd you go to school? Where are you from? How long you been living there? Well, when did you move there? Well, what do you do? Or what do you drive? I don't want to just talk about that. I want to talk about your goals. Where do you see yourself in a few years? I want to know about your family structure. How did you grow up? What are your thoughts on certain things? Is credit important to you? Things like that. Those things are, you need to have those conversations too.
Yeah, it was funny. I'm in a group and they were asking what some of those conversation starters when you first started dating. And my question was, I was being funny, but it's a real question too. It's like, these days you got to ask a person what gender were they born. Like,
listen,
that's the day and age that we're living in. I mean, you got the right to do whatever you want to do, but I just curious mind just want to know.
It's a sad reality, but especially as people that you don't know at all. Oh,
me, man. Jennifer says, "Oh no, not the dating apps." Yes, I'm on dating apps. Marvin Bennett does the dating apps. I do the Bumble, I do the Tinder, I do the Black Folks, I do Christian Mingle. I'm on all of them. I'm plugged into all of them.
I've actually gotten a lot of comments about how how do I feel about that? And I've actually heard different perspectives, even with pastors and leaders or preachers, how they feel about people singles being on the dating apps. And I would say that I guess I used to be like, oh no, like I would never do that. I would never get on an app. But at the end of the day, I mean, if you think about it, if all you do is go to church and go to work and go home and stop at the store every now and then, you're probably not meeting a lot of people. But my thing is, like, it ain't necessarily where I meet a person, it's what happens after I meet them. Because you can meet Psycho Billy at the store and at the mall.
And you can meet him at church too.
Listen, they can be sitting on the pew right behind you. You know, it's not about where I met you necessarily. To a certain degree, I ain't gonna be trying to meet people everywhere, but I want to know what's gonna happen once we meet. Who are you? Are you crazy? Are you? You can meet a stalker right in the grocery store, right in the pew behind you.
Hey, yeah, y'all gonna stop hating on the apps. Yeah, I'm out there in them app streets. Yeah, because I'm gonna tell you something.
I don't have anything against anybody who's on them. I feel like I'm more open about it now because I know people who met on apps and they're married and they have a successful marriage.
I was just about to say, I actually got a cousin that met his wife on a dating site, and they celebrating, I think, 12 years of marriage now.
Some people,
2 beautiful children, and living their life. Yeah.
Yep.
So it's not all about what people think. You know what I mean? Like I said, you can meet some crazies in church just as bad as you can meet on these sites. Someone asked, Priscilla? You asked, does a man look at a woman less if she approaches him? As I can't speak for men in general because I don't like to do generalizations, but as for this man, absolutely not. I don't think no less of a woman that tells me, hey, listen, brother, I think that you're very attractive and I would like to get you to know you on a different level. I'm flattered. You know what I'm saying? Let's do this. And then I can do that part like you say, you just be ready 5 or 7 Wednesday night and I'm coming to get you. You know what I'm saying? Whatever the case may be.
At least say, what are you doing Friday at 6? And then if I say I'm free, listen, well, now that I'm free, now let's make plans. But I think sometimes I get the whole, I probably wouldn't approach a man. I'm probably not gonna approach a man if I see them and I think they nice looking. I might say hi, but I'm not gonna be like, hey, what's up? Like I'm not gonna try to like really holler at anybody in public like that, or even on social media. But a lot of times I think I get the comment like, oh, you seem so intimidating. Like, but these are from men. And I'm like, say something. Like, if you sit back and say she seems so intimidating, or that woman over there seems so intimidating, and I've heard my homegirls get these comments too. Oh, I've been told I seem so intimidating because I'm this or because I got this or whatever people think that you're intimidating. We're not going to know that a man is interested if they don't say anything, especially if initially we were raised not to say nothing first. I can speak to you, but I'm not going to be like, yo, what up, hottie? I'm not doing that.
Okay. All right. So now I'm getting all these app questions. Warren Caldwell watching. Shout out. What's up, Warren? Warren says, do not approach a man. Please, you're going to seem very hungry.
And that's not how I've been set up. So, hey, Warren, but no.
Absolutely.
I don't approach guys. I figure if it's a single man and they're interested, that they are going to say something. At some point, I'm going to know that they're interested if they're really interested.
Yeah.
And if they're not really interested, I guess they'll keep it moving. But if they're really interested, I'm hoping that they say something.
Okay. Tajiba said, just curious, does your profile say you're looking for friendship or something casual? If so, do you swipe right on women who are looking for some long term? Okay, I guess that question is for me. Good question too. Good question. Thanks, Tajiba. Okay, with me, no, I don't. And just while we on the subject of apps, I just want to put it out there for my sisters. Okay, I'm not speaking for all men. Okay, okay. And I know this is a real sensitive topic for you guys, but please, do at least one body. I'm just giving this just some friendly advice. Do at least one full body picture on your profile. and have at least one picture of you. I don't want to see no filters. You know what I mean? Because I'm not trying to hurt your feelings when I see you in person. I'm the type of dude that if I see a whole profile, you got 10 pictures on there, and they all got filters on them, left you go. Because I have no idea what you look like whatsoever. And
Right.
I thought the purpose of this was you putting your pictures out there was for us to see how you look, not how you want to look, or not how you will want to. You know what I mean?
Right.
So no, I don't do that with the whole filters. But yeah, to answer your question, to be fair, yeah, if I see somebody looking for something long term, okay, first my profile says that yeah, I'm looking for something casual. I'm looking for friendship. You know, I'm looking to have a good time. We can chill, and if things go somewhere, they go somewhere. But I'm not looking for a long term relationship. You know what I
And
mean? So
from my other friends that are on dating sites too, I think they say the same thing for men. Like a lot of them are like, can I see your whole body picture? Can I see you without a hat? I don't want to see you with a hat in every single picture. And can I see you smiling at least one time? Because for me personally, I want to see what your teeth look like. I want to see what your hairline looks like.
exactly,
And I want to see if we both are on the thick side or not.
exactly. Give me the right to choose.
Right.
Because I promise you, it's gonna hurt your feelings more when I saw. I never forget. Me and my best friend Rodney, he was on the show last month. Me and Rodney used to do this thing back in the day when we still in high school, where we would just randomly just call numbers, like make up phone numbers and call. And if somebody answered the phone, if she sounded cute, we would, we would have a conversation. If they sounded busted, we hang up on or whatever. So there was this one particular day where we met these girls, and she had a girlfriend over there, over the house too. Like, yo, man, they sound like they bad, bro. You gotta remember, this before internet, this before Facebook and social media and all that did. So we like, yeah, man, let's meet up. So we go to meet them at this Main Street in Orange, ShopRite. They had just built this ShopRite. So, we riding our bikes up there, so we chilling. We trying to just kind of look inconspicuous, and we walking around trying to look for two girls looking for somebody that they don't know. So finally, we see them right before they see us, and then they wind up seeing us. So they approach us like, Are you Marvin and Rodney?" We look at each other like, "Hell no!" We get on our back, we get on our bikes, and we leave. I think that was the last time we ever did that because everybody don't look like how they say. But my
Right.
point is, just be fair because I would rather tell you, okay, look, you either too big for me, you too small for me, you too short for me, you too tall for me, you know, on that level when I could evaluate for myself as opposed to seeing you in person, and I look at you and it's a picture from 20 years ago. you
Right.
know,
Right.
that's not
Right.
unfair. That's not unfair to me. That's unfair to me, but it's also unfair to you. How it's gonna make you feel by me giving you my honest response.
Right.
So
For sure.
let's save each other both the drama from that aspect.
For
Hey Jay, come
sure.
on, you know me and Roddy. It was creepy, but it was the '90s. We were just living a little bit.
That is kind of crazy.
All right, so before we wrap up, because we don't went. Oh man, we don't went well over time. Before I close out though, while I had you, Estee, because she's still in here, and I didn't tell you we was gonna be talking about this. Like normally I don't give the guests what we gonna be talking about, but I just feel like doing this is random, and you could choose to decline if you want to. If not, you know what I mean. I'll be happy if you would. But like I said, one of the viewers tonight, she just lost her mom this weekend to Sheba. I know that you lost your mom at an early age. What was that like, and how did you get over the grief, and how did you process actually dealing with losing your mom?
Losing my mom, I lost my mom a few days after I turned 24. And so I know losing a parent is different depending on what age you're at, but I feel like there's no age that's ever a good time. And so for me, all was well with my mom. Some people, there's a buildup because their mom is sick and in the hospital and they already have went there mentally. like, okay, well, if this happens in the next few months or days, I got to think about how am I going to move forward without my mom or without my parent. And so for me, there was no buildup. And so I literally, when my mom passed away, I was in LA. At that time, I went on vacation and I was in LA. And I remember talking to my godmother and I said, I just felt like I needed to get away, but I understand it now, why it happened the way it happened and how all the logistics and all the details happen. But it's a process, and we can't really size our process up to make it look like anybody else's, because everybody's process looks different. And I hear a lot of people over the years have expressed themselves in what they feel like um what they feel like your process should look like, or if they're trying to give you some wisdom, you really can't give anybody wisdom on that topic
Mm-hmm.
until you've actually experienced it yourself. That will be A. And when you have experienced it yourself, you still have to be mindful and understand that it looks totally different for everybody. And
Mm-hmm.
so, how I process my grief is going to look different than how someone else processes their grief. So, for me, I had to come to the realization that, do I miss my mom every day? Absolutely. Would I love to talk to her? There's times that there's things that come up and I'm like, man, I feel like I haven't talked to my mom in so long. I feel like that I want to catch her up on so many things that have happened over the years. But I don't really feel like it's ever something you get over. I just feel like it's something that you maneuver through and you handle it the best way you know how, on every level, because there's always going to be that birthday that comes up. There's always going to be that death date that comes up. There's always going to be that favorite time of the year that you spent with your parent, holidays, your birthday, things like that, those most memorable moments. And so it's you just have to understand that it may be a long time before I move to the next stage of grief, because I think the first stage is disbelief, or you're kind of still in
Denial.
shock.
Yeah.
So yeah, denial. So you're still in shock, and you don't know what happened. You're like, oh no, I can't believe this is going on. I can't believe this is taking place. And you run and you analyze and you think about all the facts, what I coulda, woulda, shoulda, all these things. But you have to come to the realization that, you know what, this is what I experienced. And now that it's been almost, for me, it's been almost 13 years, I think. It'll be 13 years in September, 12 or 13 years in September. And so even at this time, it's still not something that is like, oh, I just got completely over. I'm just completely over it. I don't think there's ever going to be a time that I'm completely over it, because there's so many great highlights that have happened in my life that my mom was not here, or I couldn't share that time with her. So I just really tell everybody now, I've come to the realization that I feel like I went through my process so I could help someone else through theirs. And so
Absolutely.
I realized why God allowed it to happen. There's many days that I think, if the Lord would have never took my mom at the time that he did, would I really be where I am in God? Would it really have pushed me to that place of prayer? Would it
Mm-hmm.
really have pushed me to this level of trust and worship and just things that I had to figure it out at a younger age. I had to kind of figure some stuff out. I was grown, but I was still immature in some areas at 24. So I had to really fully rely on God to really take me through the process. And now that it's been so long, there's been several people that I've talked them through their process. I've prayed them through their process, but I had to realize that it's not going to look like anybody else's. And
Mm-hmm.
this is really it was given to me so I can help somebody else. I think everything we're given in life is really for someone else. It ain't really for me. It ain't really, I can't even really be that selfish. I was, I didn't lead up to a moment. Mine literally just fell on a day. I was talking to my mom one day. I flew back to North Carolina 2 days later and found out she was gone. And
Wow.
so I never had time to process. I never had time to build up to a sickness or a mindset of this is what's happening, or she had cancer or anything. No, literally, I was talking to my mom while I was walking Rodeo Drive. I got to the airport. She called me on my way to the airport, I believe, when things were taking place. And when I got back to North Carolina, I was like, I haven't talked to my mom. She called me. I'm trying to call her back. And then people started calling me. And I'm like, man, this is really happening. And finally I realized, like, wow, I'm literally here today, going tomorrow. I lived that thing. And so it just, you just have to realize that God is your source. And even when you look to other people, as will God send you people that could stand proxy for your mom? Yeah, he gonna send some people. He gonna send people that appear like her, or do things like her, or share wisdom like she does. No one can fully replace her,
Mm-hmm.
but we have to make sure we don't try to look for anybody to really fill that void. Only God can fill that void. Nobody
Absolutely.
really can. Nobody can really fill that void. There's leaders and things that God has sent me over the years, and they've said things. I'm like, ooh, that sounds just like my mom, or ooh, they did
Mm-hmm.
that just like my mom, or ooh, they sound and talk just like my mom today. But they're not her. And because I had to put my trust in God, I had to realize that this is what He gave me, and I don't think I'm ever gonna get over it. I thank God for the women that He sent along the way, because they have helped me through it. But because I'm in this situation, and this is what He gave me at 24, I just had to really give it back to God. Like, you know what, Lord, um, this is what you've given me, and now I can process it. But I will say to those people, and I think this goes for any loss that really is hurtful. You have to really take time to deal with that grief up front, soon. I wouldn't try to delay, because for me, it took me really, I didn't even try to deal with the grief behind my mom's death until years later. And I think that's where I messed up. If I would have tried to get to the root of those things when the beginning pains were happening, and when those stages were taking place in the beginning, I think I would have processed it a little bit longer. But because I learned so much along the way about not processing it up front, I processed my grandma's death last year a little better. I was able, because I had my grandmother longer, and that was my mom's mom, who passed away last year.
Mm-hmm.
So, and she was 90, about to be 91. So I was able to process her death better, because now I know what I needed to do to get through my mom's situation. So
Mm-hmm.
you just got to deal with the grief up front, and just realize that it ain't an overnight thing. You ain't gonna feel better in the morning, and
Mm-hmm.
can't nobody tell you what your situation should look like. You have to make sure that it is your process, and don't let nobody rush you through the grief.
Absolutely.
Because that ain't gonna happen either. No matter if someone tries to push you to that place, and you like, I really want to get over this. I really want to get through this. That's not the reality. There's still gonna be nights that you wake up and cry your eyes out. There's still gonna be days that I just want to talk to my mama today. I just miss my mama today. Those days are gonna come. Now I'm gonna handle the emotion better as time goes on, but don't ever let anybody rush that, and don't ever let anybody make you think you should understand what that should look like from their view, because it can only look like it can look from your point of view.
Exactly. Yeah. Just like people telling people that you need to get over it, and nah.
You're not
And
going to get over it.
yeah, Toshiba said thanks for that essay. And before I wrap up, I kind of wanted to hit on that a little bit. You touched on it. People that's spiritual. I tell people all the time, man. We used to hear growing up, wherever you want me to go, Lord, I'll go. Whatever you want me to say, Lord, I'll say. Listen, man, if you really care about serving God and you really want to be a servant of the Lord, be very careful praying that prayer. Be
Very.
very careful praying that prayer, because that's
I
so loaded on so many different levels. I remember my mom and we prayed that years ago. Next thing I knew, I was living in Little Rock, Arkansas. And I said, from that time, I will never say, Lord, wherever you want me to go, I go. I will never say that again. It's like, I'm gonna give you my respect now. I'm gonna still do what you tell me to do, because I'm gonna be obedient. But I think it's very important for us to make sure we know what it is that we praying when we pray that prayer. Because, like you say,
know.
I tell people all the time, like the scripture says, all things work together for the good. I done joked about marriage and all that there now, but like I said, I believe that my divorce is a part of my good. My all things working together for my good, because now I get to be a better friend to some of my male friends that are married, and say, nah, bro, I know how you feeling right here, but you might want to compromise, or you might want to reevaluate this situation. You might want to communicate a little bit more in this situation here, because I'm able to give that much more advice now, being from that. And I talked about it earlier. You know, I used to be that type of dude that was like, like I said, preachers come in there, you on your second and third wife. I'm hearing you, but I ain't really listening to what you got to say because
Right.
you're not living the word that you preaching. You know what I'm saying? But
Right.
being on this side of divorce, God still deals with me. I see God on a daily basis. God still give me word for people. I share with them when on a need to know basis, or whatever the case may be. Sometimes He just have me pray for people. Sometimes He call me and have me share things with people. And I have no idea what's going on, and whatever the case may be. But now I know firsthand that just because somebody is divorced doesn't mean that they're not being used by God. You know what
Right.
I mean? So that was something that I had to go through myself for me to totally understand that did. You know what I mean? And I had to ask God to forgive me for prejudging all those men of God in previous years that I misjudged, but based off of the way that I was feeling. Because when I
Right.
went through it with my first hand self, now that I know God still speaks to the divorce. He still speaks to the brokenhearted. And I think that's real crucial, man, that like you said, that you do it in your time and your process. We did a whole show. The whole month of December was for my bishop when we lost him a year ago, about a year and a half now. And it's like none of us are ever anybody that had a relationship with him, or even if you didn't have a relationship, you just had to know the man. It's
Right.
simple as that. You just had to know the man, and it was like we know we'll never get another one like that. So I don't need God to send me somebody to replace him in my life. You know what I mean? Because he's irreplaceable. They can't be replaced. You know what I mean? People in your life that's a part of your life, they cannot be replaced at all. But God can send you something as a comforter, as a keeper, like I talked about earlier. He'll keep those that want to be kept. It might not come in the form that you wanted to. It might not come through the person that you wanted to. But he is a keeper and he is a promise keeper. He is faithful to the word. So if he said, I'm going to send you a comforter, guess what? Comfort is on the way. It might not feel like it right now, but the comforter is there, and the comforter is with you. And at the end of the day, you're never going to do this by yourself because at best, God got you wrapped in his loving arms.
And you have to know him as the comforter, because sometimes what we might be looking for, I remember like when my mom first died, you know, I knew, God had sent me to a certain place or whatnot. And I was looking around the room like, you know what? A lot of these women in here remind me of my mom. But sometimes what I was looking for at that time, I was looking for, somebody just to give me that mother's love. And like you were saying, you got to be careful of what you pray and about, I'll go where you go, I'll do what you do. Because sometimes, let me tell you, it it where he sends you and what happens when you get there looks like a heartbreak. looks
Exactly.
like looks like break you down all the way, strip you of you, and you're done. It'll break you down. But I had to be mindful though, because what I was looking for, that motherly type or that big sister type to kind of, show me that love or whatever. And sometimes that love looks like straight correction. Sometimes that love look like, no, baby, you got a debunk of you so you can get all of God. And the love that I received in some of those seasons, I knew that those people always meant well, but sometimes it was the love that I needed. I'm gonna say that,
Mm-hmm.
because that love looked like there were people around that would love on me and hug on me and all that, but there was some people that God sent that, listen, girl, I'm gonna break you down of you, and this love that you need, I can't love on you like that, because this is what I feel like the love that you need in this area. And now that I look at it, those kind of things really helped me, because it was to help me to grow. It was to help mature me. It was to help, like, sometimes what we're looking for, it comes in different forms, or what we feel like we need in that time. And a lot of that in those beginning seasons, like right around the time I was 24, I connected with some people um in that season of complete brokenness. I mean, I was just a broke down, little immature, little 24-year-old girl in some areas. And I was looking for those moms and big sisters. And there were people that loved on me, but there was love that I got in a crazy form that I was like, man, Jesus, I mean, this ain't the love that I was looking for. I was looking
Mm-hmm.
for somebody to hug on me and encourage me like my mama did. And some of them people came and their love looked like straight correction, because they knew, I would say at this moment, they probably saw where I was headed and what God was going to do in my life down the road. So I needed to be I needed to be derooted of Estee. so all those spaces could be filled to God. And I had those motherly people around, but I needed that fire. I know I hear some people say, we love the people that are so sweet, but yeah, sometimes you need those people that gonna light that fire to your tail and get you together, and so you don't make a mess in years to come. And so I'm thankful for all them crazy seasons that where I thought I really just needed to fill that void with God so I could be a better me. And that
Yeah.
was the reality.
And I think a big part of that, as we wrap up, is people really and that's the whole show in itself. But I really need for people to understand the difference between want and need. It's
Yep.
two totally complete
Totally
different
things.
things. What you want might not be what you need, and what you need might not be what you want. But I thank God that I serve a God that gives me what I need, not what I
Yeah.
want all the time.
Yeah. And it ain't, and even when you're trying to be led by God and do what He's called you to do, and God, I'll go wherever you want me to go, and Lord, send me wherever you want me to be. Yes, I'm always going to be obedient. So I said that prayer before, and God has directed me on every step of that, even transitioning to another city 5 years ago and all of that. Some of that revelation I got way back in '08. It didn't manifest until 16, but I saw it back in 2008. And even with that, like, you got to make sure, like, okay, this is where He's sending me, but I still got to be okay with whatever He's planned along the way, because His plans don't look like my plans, but in the end, it's going to work for my good, and it's going to line up, I guess, the way it's supposed to. But a lot of times where He's sending you is unfamiliar territory. It's something that's not so comfortable. It's something that's going to hurt your feelings along the way. When you sign up for that prayer, you got to understand, like, okay, you want God to send you where He want to send you, and you want Him to do certain things in certain seasons, you better be prepared for the hurt and the pain. You better be prepared for the broken places, because you're going to get broken down, and you're going to get built back up, but you're going to get broken down and your feelings going to be hurt. But at the end of the day, it's going to work for your good.
Absolutely. Beverly said, "You do not always know what you need. That is why we must be totally dependent on Him." Absolutely,
Yep.
absolutely. Because we don't know. Well, like I said, most of the time, what we think we need is more of a want than a need. But like I said, that's a whole nother
Yep.
that's
A
a
lot
whole
of
nother
times
show in
what we
itself.
think, a lot of times what we think we want is really not really even close to what God wants.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times my desires, and that's the thing about, He'll give you the desires of your heart. People misconstrue that scripture a lot. But He'll give you the desires of your heart when your desires line up with His. And if
And
it
that,
ain't
and
any
I'm gonna
desire
definitely have you back, girl, because this was a good conversation. And I want to pick up right there when we come back, because I tell people I got a whole different. I've been taught that scripture all my life, but what I've been taught is something that's what God gave me concerning that scripture is something totally different. And I've debated this with preachers, with bishops, and everything else. But one thing I always try to tell people is we can debate and we can go back and forth all you want to. When I know that God has told me, there's nothing that you can say to make me change my mind. You know what I mean? But we're gonna get it. We're gonna get the next time you on. We're gonna get into that. God will give you the desires of your heart, like, because that's something that's real pivotal to me. And I think what God shared with me concerning that is pivotal to people. I share with my friends all the time, but I don't do it, publicly and stuff like that there unless it's like it comes up. But I'm gonna get on to that the next time that I have you on. But before we wrap up, did you have anything that you wanted to say to everybody before we left?
I don't. I appreciate this space. I know I was kind of running a little bit behind because of being in rehearsal, but thank you so much. I appreciate you having me on your platform tonight and sharing the space with me. I'm appreciative of whoever is viewing. I didn't get to see all the comments or all the names, but thank you all for coming on and being a part of the conversation and adding the value to this moment.
Yeah, you should be able once we get off, you should be able to go on your page.
Yeah,
And
I'll be able.
I think the show is actually going to be on your page as well. I tagged you in it, so it should show
Okay.
up on your page, so you'll be able to go back and read through the comments or whatever the case may be. But with that being said, I definitely appreciate you. I enjoyed it. I thank all you viewers. I thank you for all the comments. I thank you guys for all the comments. Toshiba, know that you're not by yourself. Everyone is with you. I'm praying for you. Este's praying for you. So is the Marvin Bennett Show, the whole movement. We all praying with you and your family going through this here.
Definitely.
So definitely know that you're not alone You're not going to carry this burden by yourself. We with you on that there. And know that I love you. Estee, thank you for doing this with me. Like I said, I'm gonna have you back on real soon, so we can finish picking up right where we left off. I enjoyed the conversation, and I'll get with you later to see what you're doing Friday night if you're
Yeah.
available. I could actually stare that gorgeous face in person over
You
a
are
mirror.
crazy. You are so sick. I'll be awaiting the Marvin Bennett show podcast. Listen, this sounds, I'm sure this is gonna turn into a podcast at some point. But
Yeah, actually, it's in the works now. I mean, podcast, whatever. I'm definitely going. The anniversary will be June 9th to make 1 year. So I'm trying to definitely make sure we up and running so we could go strictly to YouTube by that time. So when I get the YouTube page set up, I want everybody to subscribe, have all your friends subscribe, and we gonna make this thing grow because this show, when God gave it to me, He let me know from the door. It's not about me, but this is about the people. You know what I mean? Everybody has a platform for the celebrities. Jamie Foxx can go to this place and promote his movie. I want to promote and big up and support and network and build relationships amongst my friends, my core viewers, my network of friends on Facebook, as well as your network of friends on Facebook. And we're going to make this thing grow because as I'm successful, I'm only successful as you guys are successful. If you guys don't tune in and don't chime in, then it's nothing. You know, it's funny because I came up in my memories before I go. I came up in my memories a day where somebody really blessed me. They had posted and tagged me in a post that came up in my memories from 3 years ago, talking about a scripture and the word that I had posted. And someone else had posted it a while ago, and they were talking about like it's asking me a lot of all the time, a lot rather. Why do you do your spiritual posts every day? You know, sometimes you only got like 3 likes or 3 reactions or whatever case may be. And it's like the way Bishop ever taught me was it's not about numbers.
it's not.
If I preach a whole sermon and I lead one person to Christ, then
Listen.
job is done. So whether and that's my main thing. I know that just because people aren't liking them or hearting them or commenting on my posts, it doesn't mean that you ain't seeing them. And it don't mean that once you see it, it ain't resonating you, make you ask the question. So therefore, whether you acknowledge it or not, my job is done. I did what God asked me to do. So I don't get caught up in the numbers and the likes and the comments and all that did. I gotta just be obedient to God to post what He asked me to post. Because it may not be for everybody, but it is for someone.
Right. And then I think the pandemic just taught us in general, if you ain't learned nothing from this whole thing, is that small is the new big. It ain't even, numbers don't even matter. In this last year, it ain't nowhere near the numbers. Numbers never matter to me because I've always been okay with small settings. But it definitely, I'm sure the mega churches over the last year have probably wished they was a little smaller when that budget needed to be met and the people weren't there. Come on.
You better preach. Because a lot of that time went out with the pandemic.
Yes, God.
I don't think those times is looking the same way they was looking in person.
Honey, let me tell you, when the people got absent, and even when folks started coming back to the building, everybody ain't come back to the building. So when the people got absent, that money got absent too. Come on here. That money got absent.
Yeah. So we're going to keep all our legitimate men and women of God out there. We're going to keep them lifted up in prayer too.
Yeah.
Because first of all, you ain't building no churches. Let's get that out the way clear. You ain't building a thing. And if you did, then guess what? That is your church. But if we talking about a house of God, that's pure God where His Spirit abides and where His Spirit dwells, guess what? His Spirit gonna still be there pre-pandemic, post-pandemic. If we never go back into the building, you still gonna be taken care of.
And some people were still blessed even during the pandemic. I seen people close on buildings and everything else. My church included in Charlotte. I mean, we closed on that property too. So there was still blessings that came. Our bishop calls it the plandemic, because God still had a plan even in the midst of all of that chaos.
Yeah, I call it a plandemic too, but for a whole different reason. I'm not even gonna get into that right now.
Oh God.
But with that being said, man, like I said, thank you for doing this, Estee. Thank you for all the viewers. Thank you, Jen. Thank you to Sheba. Thank you, Janelle. Thank you, Tara, Algernon, Warren, Tanya, everybody that tuned in tonight. Arthur Sharonette, you still watching, get at me. I need to have you on this platform as well. I know we're gonna chop it up. We gotta have a conversation. But I want to get your things out there. We're gonna flow like a river. We're gonna promote that too. You know what I'm saying? I'm all about promoting everything that we do. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that's what it's all about. So y'all get with Estee Scott, ESTEE Scott on Facebook, as well as she said, you can reach out to her if you want to find out what she's doing as far as spoken word and her videos. That's on Instagram. Contact her, and let's support one another, yo. Only thing I tell people all the time, only thing that you could do in this world by yourself is be lonely. So, we need each other. Let's help each other.
The world goes around by relationships. That's a fact.
No doubt. So with that being said, until next week we got our very first. We're going to the new format where the first Tuesday of every month we're gonna be just talking about current affairs, and we're gonna be talking about whatever you guys are talking about in the comments, any questions, anything that you guys want to talk about. The first Tuesday of every month is gonna be a freestyle show now. So I'm looking forward to you guys coming in and tuning in, a part of that. There, if you guys already know questions that you want to ask for that show, go ahead and start getting them to me now, and hit me up, DM me, or text me, whatever the case may be. Call me, and I can put that all on the thing. That way, when we start the show next week, we got questions to get the show started until the comments start coming in. So again, with that being said, know that I love all you guys. I thank all you guys, and my heart is with you guys as well as my prayers. And with that being said, until next week, as usual, I'm signing off. DeAndre and Lysa, know that Daddy loves you intentionally, but I also love you unconditionally. Peace.
Have a good one. Thank you.